The documentary begins in total darkness. No stars, no planets, no light, there is no sound, no movement. For a moment it feels like the universe has ended. Then a calm, deep voice speaks. Before there was everything, there was nothing. The screen remains black. The narrator does not rush. Silence becomes part of the story. But what if nothing is not truly empty? Slowly the darkness starts to move. Not with light, but with depth. A deep black ocean of space appears. This is not normal space filled with shining stars. This is something else. This is the void, the emptiest places in the universe. The documentary explains that humans have always been afraid of nothingness. Ancient civilizations believed nothing meant death, end, complete disappearance. People feared darkness because they could not see what was inside it. Even today, when humans look into deep space, they feel small. They feel lost. The narrator asks a powerful question: can nothing really exist? The camera moves deeper into space. Stars slowly fade away. Galaxies disappear one by one. Soon there is almost nothing left to see. This region of space is far away from planets, far away from stars, far away from life. This is where scientists look to understand the universe at its most basic level. The narrator explains that for a long time, scientists believed space was empty. They believed that between stars and galaxies there was nothing at all, but science changed that idea. The documentary shows old drawings of space from early astronomy, simple black backgrounds with white dots. Back then, space was thought of as a silent stage. Matter moved through it, but space itself did nothing. Then came new discoveries. Scientists started asking deeper questions. If space is empty, why does gravity work there? Gravity travels through space. Light moves through space. Energy exists in space, so how can space be nothing? The narrator pauses. Maybe we misunderstood nothing. The camera now shows modern telescopes, satellites floating above Earth, scientists working in observatories. With better tools, humans started to see what was once invisible. They discovered that even in the emptiest space, something strange happens. Particles appear, then disappear. Energy moves even when no matter is present. This shocked scientists. The narrator explains in simple words: space is not just an empty container. Space has properties. Space has energy. This idea feels impossible. How can something come from nothing? The documentary builds tension. If nothing is not empty, then what is it? The camera travels further away from Earth, past the solar system, past the Milky Way galaxy. Millions of galaxies pass by like distant lights. Then suddenly, everything fades again. The universe becomes dark. This is where the mystery grows. These dark regions are called cosmic voids. They are the largest structures in the universe. Some of them are hundreds of millions of light years wide. Inside them, there are almost no galaxies, almost no matter, yet they exist. The narrator explains that cosmic voids make up most of the universe. Galaxies are actually rare. Empty space is common. This idea feels uncomfortable. Humans like to focus on stars, planets, and life, but the universe is mostly nothing. The narrator says we live in a universe where emptiness is more powerful than matter. The camera shows a comparison: tiny dots of galaxies surrounded by massive dark regions. Nothingness shapes everything. Without empty space, galaxies could not form, stars would not gather, planets would not exist. This is a surprising truth. The documentary slows down. Nothing is not useless. Nothing is necessary. The narrator now brings the audience closer to a deeper idea. Even if all matter is removed from space, space still exists. Even if all light disappears, space remains. Even if time slows down, space does not vanish. So what is left? The camera shows a scientific simulation, waves moving through empty space. This is called vacuum energy. Scientists discovered that empty space has energy built into it. This energy cannot be removed. Even when space looks empty, it is still active. The narrator explains particles appear from nothing. They exist for a moment, then they vanish. This happens constantly, every second, everywhere. The universe is never truly still. The audience now realizes something important. Nothingness is not calm. Nothingness is alive with activity. The documentary builds suspense again. If nothing is full of energy, could nothing create something? The camera shows a black screen again. This time, it feels different. The darkness feels powerful. The narrator takes the story further back in time, back to the beginning of everything, the Big Bang. Scientists say the universe began from a very small point, a point with extreme energy, but what existed before that? The narrator asks slowly, was there something before the universe, or was there nothing? Science does not have a final answer. Some theories say time began with the universe. Before that, there was no before. Other theories suggest the universe came from a quantum vacuum, a form of nothing that still has energy. The audience is left thinking, if nothing can contain energy, if nothing can follow rules, then maybe nothing is not the opposite of everything. Maybe nothing is the foundation of everything. The camera now shows Earth from space, small, blue, fragile. All of human history exists on this tiny planet, every thought, every emotion, every war and dream, and all of it exists inside a universe that is mostly nothing. The narrator says the universe did not begin with stars, it began with emptiness. The documentary slows down again. This is not just a science story, it is a human story. Humans search for meaning, they search for purpose, and to understand existence, they must understand absence. The narrator ends this part with a powerful message: to understand everything, we must first understand nothing. The screen fades to black. Silence returns. The audience is left with questions. Curiosity grows. The journey has only begun. The documentary does not begin with stars this time. It begins with a question. What happens when everything is removed? The screen shows a laboratory on Earth. Bright lights, silent machines. Scientists are trying to create the emptiest space possible. They remove air. They remove dust. They remove heat. Still, something remains. The narrator explains calmly, even on Earth, true emptiness cannot be created. There is always something left behind. The camera slowly moves away from Earth again, out past the moon, beyond the planets, deep into space. Here space looks empty, dark, silent, but science tells a very different story. For many years, scientists believed space was a perfect vacuum, a place where nothing existed, no matter, no energy, no activity. This idea felt logical. If there are no stars, no gas, no planets, then there is nothing. But nature had other plans. The documentary introduces a surprising truth. Empty space is not empty. The narrator explains this slowly, using simple words. Even when space has no atoms, it still has energy. This energy is called vacuum energy. It exists everywhere, even in total darkness. The camera shows a digital simulation, a black background. Suddenly, tiny flashes appear. They vanish almost instantly. These are not stars, they are virtual particles, particles that appear from nothing and disappear back into nothing. This sounds impossible, but it is real. The narrator explains, according to quantum physics, empty space is unstable, it cannot stay completely calm. Energy constantly moves. For a brief moment, particles form. Then they destroy each other. This happens faster than we can see, every second, across the entire universe. The documentary pauses. Nothing is restless. This idea changes everything. If space is active, if space has energy, then nothingness is not empty space. It is a sea of hidden activity. The camera now shows famous scientists, old black and white photos, equations written on chalkboards. Physicists struggled with this idea. Even Albert Einstein did not fully accept it at first. The universe was becoming stranger than anyone imagined. The narrator continues, empty space pushes galaxies apart. This force is known as dark energy. Dark energy comes from space itself, not from stars, not from matter, from nothing. This force is strong. It is making the universe expand faster and faster. The camera shows galaxies moving away from each other. The universe is growing, and the reason is empty space. The narrator says nothing is not weak. Nothing controls the future of the universe. The documentary now focuses on a simple experiment. Two metal plates are placed very close together in a vacuum. No air. No particles. According to old ideas, nothing should happen, but something does happen. The plates slowly move toward each other. This is called the Casimir effect. It proves that empty space has energy. The narrator explains virtual particles push from the outside. Inside the gap, there are fewer particles. This creates pressure. Even nothing can push. This moment is important. It proves that nothingness has physical power. The camera returns to deep space. Huge empty regions stretch across the universe. These regions look silent, but they are filled with invisible motion. The narrator says the universe is not built only from matter. It is built from space itself. The documentary now takes a step back in time, billions of years ago, before galaxies formed. The early universe was almost completely empty, but small energy differences existed in space. These tiny changes grew. Over time, gravity pulled matter together, stars formed, galaxies appeared, life became possible. All of this started from nearly nothing. The narrator explains, without empty space, matter would have nowhere to move. Without nothingness, there would be no structure. Nothing gives shape to everything. The camera shows a cosmic web, bright strands of galaxies connected across space. Between them are massive voids, dark, empty, yet essential. The narrator adds the universe is not crowded, it is mostly empty, and that emptiness creates order. This idea feels strange. Humans are used to thinking that things matter, objects, mass, energy, but in the universe, absence matters just as much. The documentary now explores another deep idea. What happens inside a black hole at the center? Matter is crushed beyond understanding. Space and time break down. Some scientists believe that inside black holes, space becomes something close to nothing. No direction, no time, no structure, yet black holes still follow rules. This suggests that even at the edge of reality, nothingness is controlled. The narrator says nothing is not chaos, nothing follows laws. The camera slowly moves through simulations of space-time bending, curved space, warped reality. Empty space is not flat. It bends under gravity, it stretches, it moves. Space itself is dynamic. The audience begins to understand something important. Space is not just a background. Space is part of the universe's machinery. The narrator explains when stars explode, space carries the shock waves. When galaxies collide, space absorbs the impact. When the universe expands, space grows. Nothingness is active. The documentary now becomes more philosophical. If space has energy, if space can create particles, if space controls expansion, then what does nothing really mean? The narrator asks, is nothing the absence of matter, or is it the foundation of reality? Science does not yet have a final answer, but one thing is clear. Nothingness is not simple, it is complex, powerful, essential. The camera returns to Earth once more. People walking, cities glowing at night. All of this exists because the universe allows empty space, because nothing gives room for something. The narrator slows down. Without nothing, there would be no distance. Without distance, there would be no movement. Without movement, there would be no life. The audience feels the weight of this idea. Nothing is not the enemy of existence. Nothing is its partner. The documentary ends this part with a strong line. The universe is not made only of what we can see. It is shaped by what we cannot. The screen fades into darkness again, but this darkness no longer feels empty. It feels alive. The documentary opens with a wide view of the universe. Thousands of galaxies shine like islands of light. They form clusters, groups, and long glowing chains, but between them there is darkness, not small darkness, not empty gaps, vast regions of almost complete nothing. The narrator speaks softly. When people imagine the universe, they see stars and galaxies, but they rarely notice what lies between them. The camera slowly zooms out. Galaxies become smaller, clusters turn into tiny points, and then the darkness takes over. These dark regions are called cosmic voids. They are the largest structures in the universe. Some are hundreds of millions of light years wide. Some are even larger. Inside them there are almost no galaxies, almost no stars, almost no matter. The narrator explains cosmic voids are places where the universe chose to leave nothing behind. This idea feels strange. How can nothing be a structure? But science confirms it. Cosmic voids are real. They are mapped by telescopes, measured by data, studied by astronomers. The documentary shows computer simulations of the universe. Bright lines form a giant web. This is called the cosmic web. Galaxies live on these bright strands. Clusters form at intersections, and between these strands void, dark, empty, silent. The narrator continues, the universe looks like a giant sponge. Matter forms the walls, nothing fills the holes. At first, scientists thought voids were unimportant, just empty leftovers, but that idea did not last long. Researchers noticed something surprising. Cosmic voids affect how galaxies move. They shape the universe on the largest scale. Nothing was influencing everything. Documentary slows down. Inside a void, gravity is weak. Matter slowly moves away from the center. Over billions of years, voids grow larger. They push galaxies outward. The narrator explains voids expand not because they are powerful, but because there is almost nothing to stop them. This is an important idea. Where there is matter, gravity pulls inward. Where there is nothing, expansion wins. The camera shows time-lapse simulations. Voids growing. Galaxies drifting apart. The universe becoming more empty. The narrator adds, the universe is becoming a place of greater nothingness. This is not destruction, this is evolution. As time passes, matter gathers into clusters. Voids become larger and emptier. The universe separates into islands of matter surrounded by oceans of nothing. The documentary asks a deep question. If most of the universe is empty, then what is the universe really about? The camera now travels inside a cosmic void. There are no stars nearby. No bright light, only darkness, but this darkness is not completely dead. There are tiny amounts of gas, a few lonely galaxies. Even here, physics continues. Time moves forward, space expands. The narrator explains cosmic voids are the closest thing to nothing that the universe allows. They are laboratories of emptiness. Scientists study voids to understand dark energy. Because voids are mostly empty, the effects of dark energy are stronger there. Dark energy pushes space apart, and in voids it dominates. The narrator says to study nothing, scientists look where there is almost nothing. This is where the universe reveals its deepest secrets. The documentary now shows astronomers using massive surveys. Millions of galaxies are mapped. Their positions reveal the shape of voids. These maps show something incredible. Voids are not random. They follow patterns. They connect. They evolve. The narrator explains even nothing follows structure. This challenges human intuition. People think nothing means chaos, but cosmic voids show order. The universe organizes emptiness. The documentary now explores how voids were born. Shortly after the Big Bang, the universe was almost uniform. Matter was spread evenly, but tiny differences existed. Some regions had slightly more matter, some had slightly less. Gravity amplified these differences. Regions with more matter pulled inward. Regions with less matter lost material. Over time, voids formed. The narrator explains voids are not holes punched into the universe. They are regions that were left behind. Matter moved away, nothing remained. The camera shows early universe simulations, small empty bubbles slowly growing, joining together, becoming massive voids. This process took billions of years. The narrator adds nothingness takes time to grow. The documentary now shifts perspective. Imagine living inside a cosmic void. The nearest galaxy might be millions of light years away. The night sky would be almost black. Very few stars would be visible. The universe would feel empty, lonely. The narrator asks, would such a universe feel meaningless? But then comes a surprising idea. Without voids, galaxies would collide too often. Stars would form too quickly. Life might not survive. Voids create balance. They slow things down. They provide space. The narrator explains nothing gives the universe room to breathe. This idea is powerful. Nothingness is not a mistake. It is a feature. The documentary now connects voids to the future. As the universe expands, voids will grow even larger. Galaxies will move farther apart. In the far future, distant galaxies will disappear from view. The sky will become darker. The universe will feel emptier. The narrator says quietly the universe is slowly returning to nothing. This is not sudden, it is slow. Over trillions of years, stars will die, galaxies will fade, voids will dominate. The documentary does not frame this as sad, it is natural, a cosmic cycle. The narrator reflects the universe began in near nothingness, and it may end the same way. The camera now returns to the present, galaxies shining brightly. Life exists now, because the universe is not fully empty yet. The narrator adds, we exist in a brief moment between nothing and nothing. This creates emotional weight. Human life is small, short, but meaningful. The documentary now asks a final question for this part. If nothing shapes the universe on the largest scale, could it also shape our understanding of existence? The camera shows Earth again. Small, bright, surrounded by darkness. The narrator concludes, cosmic voids teach us a strange lesson. Emptiness is not absence, it is influence. The screen slowly fades to black, but the story does not feel empty, it feels full of meaning. The journey continues, not the silence of space, but a deeper silence. No stars, no galaxies, no light. The screen is completely black. The narrator speaks slowly, every story has a beginning. But what if the beginning had no place, no time, and no matter? This part of the documentary asks the hardest question of all. What existed before the universe? The camera shows a timeline moving backward. Galaxies fade, stars disappear, atoms break apart. Time itself seems to slow down, the universe shrinks, until everything reaches one moment, the Big Bang. Scientists say the universe began nearly 13.8 billion years ago. All space, all time, all matter, born in a single event. But the narrator asks, what came before that moment? This is where science reaches its limits. The documentary explains that time itself began with the Big Bang. Before that, there was no before. No past, no future, just a boundary. The narrator explains in simple words, if time did not exist, asking what happened before the universe may not make sense. It is like asking what is north of the North Pole. There is no answer. This idea is difficult for the human mind. Humans think in cause and effect. Something must come before something else, but the universe may not follow human intuition. The camera shows physicists discussing theories. Equations fill the screen. The narrator continues, some scientists believe the universe came from absolute nothing. No space, no time, no laws. Then suddenly something happened. The universe appeared, but this idea creates a problem. How can something come from nothing? The documentary pauses. Can nothing create everything? Other scientists propose a different idea. They say there was never true nothing. Instead, there was a quantum vacuum. A state with no matter but still energy. No space as we know it. No time as we experience it, but still potential. The narrator explains quantum physics allows energy to appear from empty states. If the universe began from such a state, then nothing was never truly empty. It was waiting. The camera shows abstract visuals, fluctuations in darkness, tiny changes growing larger. The narrator adds, in this view, the universe did not come from nothing, it came from a restless emptiness. The documentary now explores another idea, the multiverse. Some theories suggest that our universe is not alone. There may be many universes, each born from similar quantum events. In this idea, nothingness is like an ocean. Universes are bubbles forming within it. Narrator explains our universe may be one bubble in a sea of nothing. This concept feels almost unreal, but mathematically it is possible. The documentary does not claim it is true, it simply shows that science is still searching. The narrator reminds the audience we are asking questions at the edge of knowledge. The camera now shifts to philosophy. Long before modern science, humans asked the same question. Ancient thinkers wondered, why is there something instead of nothing? Some believed nothing was impossible. Others believed nothing was the original state. The narrator says science and philosophy meet at the question of nothing. The documentary explains that even defining nothing is difficult. Is nothing the absence of matter, the absence of space, the absence of laws? Each definition leads to a different answer. The camera shows empty space again, dark, silent. The narrator continues, even the emptiest space still follows laws of physics. It has structure. So maybe true nothing has never existed. Maybe the universe always existed in some form. This idea is unsettling. It removes the idea of a beginning. The narrator explains some theories suggest the universe goes through cycles, expansion, collapse, rebirth, again and again. In this view, there is no start and no end, only change. Nothingness is never reached. The documentary asks if the universe never truly reaches nothing, then is nothing even real? Camera shows stars exploding, galaxies colliding, matter transforming, everything changes, but nothing remains stable. The narrator reflects nothing may be a concept, not a place. This idea is powerful. Humans imagine nothing as empty darkness, but science suggests nothing may be impossible. There is always something. Energy, space, potential. The documentary now becomes more emotional. The narrator speaks calmly. We search for beginnings because we search for meaning. Humans want to know why they exist, why the universe exists. If the universe came from nothing, it feels mysterious. If it always existed, it feels eternal. Both ideas are difficult. The camera returns to Earth, people looking at the night sky, asking questions, wondering. The narrator adds the question of nothing is also a human question. The documentary now introduces uncertainty. Science does not yet know the answer, and that is okay. Not knowing pushes discovery. The narrator says the universe does not owe us simple answers. The camera shows future telescopes, bigger instruments, deeper views into space. Scientists hope to see signs of the earliest moments. They search for clues, not of something, but of what came before. The narrator explains even tiny signals from the early universe could change everything. They could tell us if the universe had a beginning, or if it emerged from something deeper. The documentary slows down. The narrator asks one final question for this part. If nothing came before everything, then where did the laws of the universe come from? This question has no answer yet, and that is the point. The documentary ends this part with reflection. Nothing before everything may not be empty, it may be full of mystery. The screen fades to black, but this time the darkness feels thoughtful, not frightening. The story is reaching its final stage, but this time the darkness feels different. It is not empty, it is calm, it is deep. The narrator speaks gently after traveling through the universe. After studying emptiness, one final question remains. What does nothing truly mean? The camera slowly reveals Earth floating in space, small, bright, alive, surrounded by an endless sea of darkness. The narrator explains humans often think nothing means loss, silence, end. But the universe tells a different story. Nothing is not just the absence of something. Nothing is space. Nothing is possibility. Nothing is freedom. Without nothing, the universe would have no room to grow. The camera shows galaxies drifting apart, space between them expanding. The narrator continues, nothing allows distance. Distance allows motion. Motion allows change. Change allows life. This is a powerful realization. Nothing is not the opposite of life. It is part of life. The documentary reflects on human fear. People fear emptiness, loneliness, the unknown, but the universe is mostly empty and yet full of beauty. The narrator says the universe is quiet, but it is not meaningless. The camera shows stars forming inside dark clouds. From darkness, light is born. The narrator explains stars do not form in crowded places. They form in vast clouds of mostly empty space. Life itself begins in emptiness. Even inside the human body, empty space exists between atoms. Matter is mostly nothing. The narrator adds, you are more empty space than solid matter. This idea feels strange but true. Nothing is not outside of us, it is part of us. The documentary now turns philosophical. If nothing allows everything to exist, then maybe nothing has value. The narrator asks, what if nothing is not something to fear but something to understand? The camera shows ancient cave paintings. Humans looking at the stars, asking questions, wondering where they came from. The narrator explains since the beginning of history, humans search for meaning. They look to the sky. They imagined gods, spirits, stories. Today, science replaces myth, but wonder remains. The universe is still mysterious. The narrator continues, science explains how the universe works, but meaning comes from how we see it. Nothing gives context to everything. Without darkness, light has no meaning. Without silence, sound has no impact. The documentary slows down. The narrator speaks softly, nothing gives shape to experience. The camera now looks far into the future, trillions of years from now. Stars burn out, galaxies fade. The universe becomes darker, colder, more empty. The narrator explains this may be the final state of the universe, a slow return to silence, not destruction, just stillness. The narrator says the universe may end not with fire but with quiet. This idea is not presented as sad, it is natural, everything changes. Nothingness is part of the cycle. The camera shows the birth of the universe again, then the present, then the far future. A complete cosmic timeline. The narrator reflects from near nothing everything began, and to near nothing everything may return. The documentary now focuses on the present moment. This moment, when stars still shine, when life exists, when humans can think. The narrator emphasizes we live in a rare moment between two silences. This gives life meaning, not because it lasts forever, but because it does not. The camera shows people around the world looking at the night sky, standing quietly, thinking. The narrator continues, nothing reminds us how special something truly is. The documentary now brings the message home. Humans often fill their lives with noise, constant motion, constant distraction, but the universe teaches patience, silence, space. The narrator says sometimes meaning is found not in doing more but in allowing space. The camera returns to the vast universe, galaxies drifting, voids expanding, the universe breathing. The narrator concludes nothing is not empty, nothing is not useless, nothing is not meaningless, nothing is the stage on which everything exists. The screen slowly fades to black. No music, just silence. After a moment, one final line appears as the narrator speaks. In the end, understanding nothing may be the key to understanding everything. The darkness remains, but now it feels complete.